Good morning and welcome to the Up Zone where understanding politics is made simple. We are your two hosts, Mr. Elmer Floyd, former House Representative for the 43rd District in the state of North Carolina, and myself, Tisha S. Waddell, former City Council Representative for the 3rd District in the city of Fayetteville. Hey, Mr. Floyd,
Good morning to you.
how was that Cornish hen, sir?
Well, I changed the time from 12:30 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. and nobody showed up. I said I had a half a Cornish hen,
You did.
and so
And nobody took you up on it.
I changed the time. Maybe the time had something to do with it, you know. Instead of 12:30 p.m., I changed it to 12:30 a.m.
Yeah.
So you think
Well,
that could have caused some confusion?
Floyd, probably so. People have a hard time at that. The only people up at that time, who up at that time.
I didn't want too many, to come in at that time, based upon what you just said.
I
But I
understand.
did extend the invitation. I did extend the invitation.
I understand. Mr. Floyd, I'll tell you, it was a marvelous holiday. I enjoyed so very much last Thursday, spending time with my family and just really being able to hang out with my people. Like I really had a good time with that. So I hope that everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving and that they were surrounded by love and Thanksgiving, that people actually took the time to be thankful. Even if everything wasn't perfect, be thankful for the fact that they were alive to just to have the experience.
And I want to thank you for not recording last Thursday, and it gave my creditors a day off.
Absolutely. Well, look, everybody needs a break.
Yeah,
Even your creditors. Everybody. Uh-oh.
they didn't
Everybody.
even they didn't call at all on Thanksgiving
They didn't need you, Floyd.
Day. I was hoping they'll call me and say they'll forgive my debt.
They didn't need anything. They said, "We good. We got what we need from them."
Other
We
than
got,
that, it's good. It's
yeah, yeah. So, what do we have any announcements in the community? Because you know you
no,
are Mr. Ear to the ground.
no, but the Democrat Party, I think it's December the 5th, is going to have uh, a roundtable discussion of the good, the bad, and the ugly, as it relates to the party itself and what's its vision is for the future there. And
So
I was,
it's going to be the Democrats sitting together to discuss what now?
you, you know, uh, looking at the past election, summarizing the past election.
Where is this going to be taking place at?
I think it's going to be at the Democrat headquarters, just to see how can they, improve on their delivery.
Do you
And,
think that that's an echo chamber conversation because that's them having the conversation about them with them?
well, it really, to to a large extent, Tish, regardless of what you say, it's just like when you walk into Chick-fil-A. You don't expect to get a hamburger. You don't expect to get a pork chop.
Yeah.
So it's good to have them, but uh, as one say, I don't believe that the agenda is going to change, that much.
Yeah, I think those are such a waste of time. I think that when people have conversations in echo chambers, they don't, either they don't want to hear the perspective of the people that they're trying to reach, or they presume that they already know. And either way, that's very arrogant and it's very limiting. It does not yield the type of results that could be potentially transformative for the Democratic Party. So I would almost urge the Democratic Party to, instead of having a round table, to open up the table and talk to
Well,
various people from various
it's
political
o-
affiliations to see why the message didn't land.
it's open teach, but it's an open discussion. But it's just like it's it would be good as it relates to having a fellowship.
Okay, I understand. Y'all gonna
Okay.
get together and break bread.
Because they don't want, I mean, because if we look around, at what took place, and we talked about this on our program, is that the council of state and the amount of money that was given to the council of state election, and two African American candidates didn't get any money from the council of state PAC that was supposed to exist. And when we look at Senator DeVille that was elected chairman of the county board of commissioners, what happened to him? No one stood up and said anything in his behalf. When we
Hmm.
talked about the four incumbents that the party ran, ran individual against them. See, they, those are the things that really has an adverse effect on our party. I was at the swearing in ceremony last, Monday night, and I was surprised when one representative told me that the governor refused to sign a order of the long leaf pine to be given to him. Now, can you imagine? I mean,
Mr. Floyd, but I'm the
refused
same
to
person that
sign.
was refused the key to the city from my service, so I can absolutely understand it. And with that, with let me make this point. With that, I received a text message from Mario Benavente um, on Monday about the key to the city. Apparently, he brought it back before the council, unbeknownst to me. Well, I knew I had heard about it a few months ago because somebody had called me and said he was thinking about it, but I didn't give it any additional thought because I he hadn't talked to me. I hadn't given it any additional thought. So I received a text message. Apparently, there was another conversation about giving me a key to the city. The vote failed 5-5, so there are still five people who do not believe that from my service, I should be honored with the key to the city. And it was interesting because in Mario's text to me, he made mention of some things and kind of said, I don't understand why they're holding this line. And I told him, you need, because I don't know if you saw this or not, Mr. Floyd, but sometime last week or the week prior, there was a retraction statement that was put out by Darden Jenkins. And the retraction statement, because I don't want to, since it is an official statement and I don't want to misrepresent it, do you mind if I read it to our
No,
viewers?
no.
Okay. Because like I said, I want to make sure that I read it the way that it was. It says, and it's from Darden Jenkins. It lists his address and it lists the date November 21st, 2024. And it is to R. Jonathan Charleston, Esquire of the Charleston Group. It lists address of his office, and it says, "Dear Mr. Charleston and Counsel, I write in response to Attorney Jose Coker's, or yeah, I think it's Coker, November 21st, 2024 letter, which challenged the comments I made about Mr. Charleston and by innuendo, the Charleston Group. I further acknowledge and agree that neither Mr. Charleston nor the Charleston Group had any involvement whatsoever in connection with the surety bond matter I raised in my November 19, 2024 Facebook post. I regret my actions and extend my sincerest apologies for the harm caused by the statements I posted on Facebook on November 19th, 2024 about Mr. Charleston and by innuendo, the Charleston Group. The statements I made regarding Mr. Charleston. So it goes on to indicate that essentially he was required to immediately retract and remove the post, issue a public apology, and emphasize that neither Mr. Charleston nor the Charleston Group were involved in whatever it was he was talking about, and to express a heartfelt apology. He had to have that notarized, and then he posted that on his social media. So I pointed Mario Benavente in the direction of this apology, and I told him, if you want to understand why certain members of this board refuse to honor me with a key to the city, measure this apology that was issued by Darden Jenkins upon necessity, because he received a letter from Jonathan Charleston's counsel. Measure that against the fact that for the last couple of years, I have publicly issued a letter that contained information that I believe that I alleged to be accurate, I've publicly let me see how I'm saying this because I want to make sure I say this right. I submitted a letter filled with allegations that contained not only the council but also alluded to their relationships with this attorney. We on this podcast have repeatedly talked about this attorney's relationship with the council and how it seems to how it seems to have some undue influence on how they do business. We've talked about what appeared to be conflicts of interest with this attorney and members of council and the community. We've talked about all of those things, and we've never received a letter from his counsel asking us to retract anything. So I told Mr. Benavente, look no further than that as your example as to why they may not wish to give me a key to the city. I also let him know that at this time, even if it was approved, I would not accept it because it would mean agreement with what's on the table right now, and I'm not in agreement.
But teach one thing that I've seen individuals come into the city for an appearance for whatever reason, and a key to the city is given to them.
Yeah,
I mean, we, uh, in the political arena, you know, it's all right to hold hostility to certain individuals.
but Mario, and I like the word he used. He said they're being petty. So the governor was being petty by not signing that order of the long leaf pie.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it just, sometimes we have to hold our nose, and I say this in a general sense, hold our nose and cast the vote. It just requires a signature. See,
That's it.
all of these things that we are talking about has an adverse effect on my party. And I one of my mottos and one of my things is that I don't pay you teach to discriminate against me.
That's
I'm not
it.
that stupid.
That's it.
I'm not that stupid now. I'm crazy and and all of that. But you know, that's why my party. I was watching a national, and the guy said, our agenda is toxic. So we're gonna have to look at how can we change this agenda. I mean,
But you know what it is, Mr. Floyd? It's the people that are setting the agenda who are toxic.
well,
So you
what,
have to change the toxic people in order to revise the toxic
but
messaging.
it, but we won't do that, Teach.
That's
If we
right.
look at it from a statewide, our state grew by, let's say, uh, to provide us one U.S. Senate. I mean House member. But our my party lost just over 6 to 700,000 people. Now, a corporation would look at that and see what are we doing wrong? Where do we need to make the changes?
That's right.
And but it's something we're losing members, but we want to run with the big dogs.
That's right.
It's sort of like the city of Fayetteville was talking about a couple of months ago. They changed the parking. Now they want to increase the parking fees. You know,
Well,
to
because the parking debt is tied to the repayment of the parking deck, the revenue generated by the parking deck is tied to the repayment of one of those projects downtown. I want to say it was the baseball stadium. It's tied to the repayment of one of those projects. I'm pretty sure it's the baseball stadium. So, Mr.
what
Floyd, at the end of the day, they have to generate that revenue because it was a part of the projected budget.
teach. I mean, I
I'm
mean,
not
I
saying it's
understand what you're
right,
saying.
Floyd. I'm just
I understand what you're saying, T. But we reported on our program about 4 or 5 buildings being sold. Just
have they been
last,
sold yet?
I don't know, T.
I
But
haven't seen
we
an
were talking
update yet.
about at least 5 or 6 restaurants being closed, and then they said something about 5 new ones that opened up. We're talking about a beautiful parking deck with a first floor open that's supposed to be commercial, and we're talking about a beautiful parking deck that have yet to get an elevator. And you talking about increasing dues, I mean fees. But I can understand that, Tisha. I could understand that because they're building the civic center,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and that took up 200 plus spaces for zip code 301.
Mm-hmm.
In that report, they talked about the civic center and where those persons are going to park, and those persons that utilize those 210 parking spaces are member of the 301 zip code that gives a that gives a contribution to the facility across the street, if you understand what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So those persons that give that contribution is taking a day off work, paying a fine, and then gonna have to pay a parking fee and a fine if they go over the hours. So they already know who is going to help contribute towards this increase in parking now. The average person is going to say, uh, I'm, I need to call my lawyer to figure out whether or not a special event is going to take place, or I got to go online and scan and find out whether or not a special event is going to take place. I might as well drive my girlfriend out to by the mall where I can park free and save myself all of this money because I don't have to eat downtown. I can park elsewhere. But what I do like, Tish, what I do like is that the the food and beverage tax, the city don't get any money, but you provide the services. So
Right.
it's all right.
Yeah,
It's all right.
it's unbalanced. We need some balance in that regard. Mr. Floyd, we forgot to congratulate the Honorable Patricia Timmons Goodson. So I would like for you to speak a little bit about why congratulations are in order for her.
Well, she has a beautiful portrait that's going to be placed in the state Supreme Court as the first African American Chief Justice. And so now she's the dean of the law school at North Carolina Central. Since her stepping down from that position, and I think uh, uh, the young lady she just ran for the for the U.S. Congress. Her name has slipped my mind right
That's
now,
all right.
but she got very little support from the Democrat Party too.
Not Sherry Beasley.
Sherry Beasley,
Yeah.
and I would, and that leads me to another point too,
What does that lead you to, sir?
is that I was just talking to a person prior to us coming on, and he was saying that the Democrat Party just don't treat African American candidates the same,
Okay.
and
Well,
so
because the prevalent thinking in this current age is that the Democrat Party does not exist necessarily for the working class or for the African American, for the black citizen. That is really for the wealthy
yeah,
Democrats and for
yeah.
Caucasian men.
Well, and then yesterday I got a call reference caucus dues, and I said to that person, uh, how many African Americans after the election can have $10,000 from their campaign money, $20,000 for 2 sessions? I mean, for a session, which is 2 years. Uh, how many African Americans have $20,000 that they can give towards caucus dues when most of the money is given to the other zip code because they know that you are going to follow the other zip code agenda. So why give you a contribution?
Does Michael Colvin have $20,000 in his coffer to pay those
No,
dues?
he'll be blessed with on the house side. There's this 250 plus 250, which is $500.
Okay.
On the house side, unless it changed
Okay.
their caucus due. But the caucus itself, as it relates to the black caucus, uh, most of their staff is paid from by the House and Senate leadership.
Okay. I want to we moved a little bit beyond this, but I want to go back. I want to say I do want to thank the Fayetteville City Council for not moving forward with presenting that key, because it would have placed a burden on me to have to articulate, probably to the community, why I was not accepting that. And so I'm very grateful, and I want to thank.
Be a shrewd politician. I mean, go and accept the key when they change your leadership and they give you the key.
Because
Only
you
way,
know that you know it will happen, Mr. Floyd.
yeah,
When they change the leadership, I
well, the
will
county
accept
just
it.
did it. I mean, the county just did it. So
Right,
the
right.
North Carolina Senate just
Baby,
did
didn't
it.
it? Wait, don't rush past that. Don't rush
Okay.
past that. The county did do that. But when they change the leadership, I'll be more than willing to accept. But under this administration, no, because again, it will signify agreement or acceptance. And I
No,
just can't come into.
no, no.
Right
It
now, it would, Floyd, because
signifies
I'm
that I
still I'm
won.
still waiting on the police, or I'm still waiting on that external investigation to pan out that all of the allegations that I laid forward were actually factual. And
Well,
so I'm just waiting on that, or I'm waiting on a change of the guard. And when that transpires, then I'll be more than happy to graciously accept what I have coming to me, which is a key to the city for honorable service for the Fayetteville City Council for
well,
2 terms.
but I'm going back to what I just mentioned, Chief, is that changing the guard is inevitable.
Inevitable, because what did we see just happen?
Well, I mean, I went, to the swearing in ceremony, and I looked at if I may teach, I mean, each departing commissioner was given, you know, some form of certificate and an
Yeah,
award.
Glenn Adams had his picture in the paper a whole bunch of times.
If a person did not know Glenn Adams,
They know him now. He
when,
looks
when
good
they,
too. He lost weight. He's out there looking good.
I mean, with the four plus video, 3 or 4 plus videos.
Yeah,
If you didn't know Glenn Adams,
you know him
you
now.
know you know him now. And I watched the video, and I watched 12 years of Commissioner Evans' service on the County Board of Commissioners. I think I saw his picture less than 3 times with past services. And
Yeah.
so when I looked at uh, how the voting took place, Commissioner Council nominate Commissioner Fairclough there, and I think he came up with 3 votes.
Hmm.
And Veronica Jones nominated Commissioner Kurt DeVille.
Well, then let's sit there for just a second before we talk about how that vote turned out. I want to make mention of the fact that Veronica Jones has worked with Commissioner Deviere for many years. Because do you remember, Mr. Floyd, the Pathways to Prosperity initiative?
Mhm.
So Kirk Deviere, who was then Councilman Deviere, was championing that project, and he was working with then Councilman Larry Wright. There was this huge initiative. It was a countywide initiative with a lot of publicity that accompanied it, and a lot of manpower that went into trying to identify pathways for prosperity in our community for our least prosperous citizens. During this time, Veronica Jones was serving as the campaign manager for Larry Wright. They worked hand in hand. So Veronica Jones has worked very intimately with Kirk Deviere in the past. It did not surprise me that she was the person that brought forward that
Yeah.
initiative. I think we will see the two of them work collaboratively regularly.
Well, let me say to you, Chief. Yeah, taking what you just mentioned,
Yes.
and I mentioned that I saw Commissioner Evans' picture in the videos less than whatever time. Okay, so that gives me an indicator. I mean, I read the indicators, and I read the indicators of how the commission had treated Commissioner Jones, you
Hmm.
know, uh, in the past. So I
Hmm.
wasn't surprised, to see her nominate
She has
him.
an ally now. She's
Yeah,
got an ally.
I wasn't surprised because when you look at it, doing well, Commissioner Adams has served 3 terms as chairperson. Commissioner Evans served 1 term in 12 years, and she's been on the commission. This is going on her third year,
Hmm.
and she hasn't been honorable mention, for fourth
And
chair.
she's now the vice chair.
Yeah, so it's
Yep.
a changing, of the God. So this is what I'm saying to you. You know, after a period of time, people are beginning to read more into the tea leaves, if you understand what I mean. They're reading
Absolutely.
more into the tea leaf. And then again, people have a little bit more, they rely a lot on technology now. It's to assist them. That the cell phone provides a lot of information to people that normally do not receive it.
In
So,
a matter of minutes.
so
And
we
I
can
think
see.
one of the things that our audience should be very aware of, I want you to understand that the inclusion of a Kirk Devier on the the county commissioners board is a very strategic inclusion for the county because Kirk Devier has relationships at multiple levels of government that are tried and tested. He has relationships in the community that have been forged by fire because there have been some things that have been thrown at him, and he has been able to really see who stands with him and who flakes on him. He also has a political savvy and knack that supersedes his time of service as an elected official because before he was an elected official, he was a kingmaker. And when I say kingmaker, I need for people to understand that what that means is the person with the political acumen who is able to help other people successfully be elected. So he understands the dynamic and the history of this community in a way that is going to serve the Board of Commissioners very well. He's not an unseasoned person stepping into a new
Oh,
role.
now he is well. Let me explain to you. He is well seasoned in working. What we call in the General Assembly, working across the aisle.
Right.
He was so well seated that the governor found someone to challenge him.
To take his seat. And
Yeah,
I was just getting ready to say, and he has been punched in the face by the system enough to have built up a resistance to going along to get along
yeah.
because he under now I would be very surprised if we saw a go along to get along version of County Commissioner Devier. What do you think we can expect to see from Henry Tyson and Pavan Patel as additions to this board, and how is that going to change the dynamic on the board of commissioners? Because heretofore they've been able to really just
Well, I think if you look at the dynamics, with the two newcomers, and what have been expressed in the past is that no Republican has been able to chair the county board. And what I mean by no Republican, the Republican have not had an opportunity to chair.
mhm.
If you look at the rotation, now it doesn't mean the rotation is true because Faircloth would have been the chairperson if you look at the rotation. Okay.
I think we're going
So,
to see Pavan Patel step into chair next.
well, no, I
No,
believe
I think not.
Veronica.
I mean, into co-chair. I think we're
Yeah,
going to see Veronica Jones step into chair, and I think we're going to see Pavan Patel as her co-chair.
yeah, you see. And so,
And he's a Republican, so it's going to be earth-shattering when that happens.
well, you're gonna see the change because of the well, you know, if you look at it, I think that if you were at the meeting, the swearing in, I thought it was when Kurt was sworn in. I thought it was a basketball game.
Why you say that? People were
With
cheering for
the
him.
cheer, with the cheering there. So it's sort of giving him the 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 confidence that his
Absolutely.
agenda, and he mentioned about housing, education, and on the Adams, he didn't mention about affordable housing there. And then another thing, Tish, I don't know whether it's good, bad, or ugly, but the Civic Center and the parking deck had very little mention.
Yeah, because
You
I
know,
think people look at that as a wrapped up project. But Mr. Floyd, I want to say
it's
this,
wrapped up, Tish, but if you were seeing what have taken place over X number of years, and the good things that the county, and you were listening and you were listing these things, it seemed like that would have been one of the cornerstones.
absolutely,
Very
absolutely.
little.
We forgot to mention, and I want to make sure that we mention this, because if we can pop your hand, we can pat your back. I want to commend the city of Fayetteville, the police department under the leadership of Chief Kimberly Braden. I want to commend them for the reduction in crime rate. I want to commend the citizens of this community, because it is us who has decided that we're not going to just be out here all willy-nilly killing each other. So thank you, citizens. Thank you, prayer warriors who are praying for peace in our community. Thank you to the police officers who are responding and doing their job and doing it well. Thank you, Kimberly Braden, for your leadership. Chief Braden, we appreciate you. Thank you for the service of all of the other police officers who step up and step in. Mr. Floyd, what's your take on this reduction in crime?
It's good.
It's always good.
It, it is good when we can feel that we can move about our community, unintimidated,
Right.
without
Now
the
we
fear
still have
of.
a long way to go, but
Oh, no doubt about
we're making some strides.
no doubt about that. So I just want to thank you for commending Chief Brady, because I think that it's good that we can make a public statement, like that.
Absolutely. What you want to talk about with this police advisory board? Because remember, that was a hot topic for a while.
Well, well, to some, some, one council member has a concern about the advisory board.
And that
Said
would be
that,
Mario Benavente.
yes,
Hmm.
and was saying that it's simply a if I can use a choir for the police department, and that very little recommendation,
Are
have
coming
come from
forward.
that committee.
See, but Mr. Floyd, it was not designed for that, and which is why when I was on council, I was like, this is not what the people are asking for. This is not what we need to be voting to give them. But this was happening this conversation was taking place around the time that I was making the decision to resign from the board.
Hmm.
But I'll tell you, Mr. Floyd, one of the things that I consistently said, and if you go back and watch those meetings, you'll see it. I kept saying, this is not what our citizens are asking for. We're not give. There's no authority in what we're putting on the table. This is just a showpiece. It's just a showpiece. So I think what you're hearing coming from Councilman Benavente, and I haven't heard his commentary, but I would imagine that what you're hearing coming from him is a reinforcement of the fact that this is not what the people were talking about when they said we want a police advisory board. We want a board that can serve to as a check and balance for the police department. It just
Well,
it was it had no teeth.
what teach you got to look at? The chairman said to the commission, I mean to the council person, what we have been working on is our strategic plan.
How long does it take to generate a strategic
I'm
plan?
just I'm just saying what they put
Because
said.
I've been
I
off the
mean,
board for a couple years. How long does that take?
now that's what he said, and and the issue prior to that was coming up again as driving for while black. Okay, there was very little discussion coming from that board at that particular uh, uh, point in time, and none thus far. But the unique thing about that is that we're going to, once we get our strategic plan in 2+ years, we're going to be aggressive pursuing uh, thoughts about how we can improve policing. But the concern that I had when it was first set up, it's hard to serve three guards.
It
That's the
is.
commission, the count, the the the, the, the city manager, the city council, and the chief of police. You got to serve all three of them.
Yeah, and what the Bible say, you can't serve two masters because you will love the one and hate the other.
so, so it was set up within itself with that report. I mean, with that reporting mechanism, and this is a voluntary board. I got to meet with the city council. I got to meet with the city manager, and I got to meet with the chief of police to provide a recommendation about what we see that need to improve policing.
Right.
So I mean, with those three mechanisms, it was set up to be unique. I'm gonna put it like that.
Right. Well, Mr. Floyd, let me ask you a question. Shifting a bit from the city of Fayetteville to, and we've talked about the county. Let's talk a little bit about state, about what we see happening across the state. Last time we were here 2 weeks ago, we talked about the bus driver in Cumberland County who was leveraging the lawsuit because of his inability to be able to obtain a CDL and then firing from him from his job. Then that following week, I saw an article that said in Durham County, it was Durham County. Yeah, in Durham County, they are revising their bus schedule to remove Friday bus service. So they are only going to run their buses 4 days a week because of a shortage for their bus drivers. So we are seeing across the state of North Carolina an adverse effect on the school system where bus driving is concerned. What's happening, Mr. Floyd?
One word, Chief. Pay, pay, pay.
So
It's not
how is this gonna, there are children whose parents don't have vehicles. How are they gonna get to school if the buses suddenly stop running? Because I think what we see happening in Durham County is going to be trickling into other counties because they just don't have the capacity to maintain the routes at the current standard.
again, Chief. I mean, you're asking me. I'm going to use three categories that I made. You gonna ask me to be a substitute teacher and then be a bus driver. You gonna ask me to be a custodian and be a bus driver, and you're gonna ask me to be a cafeteria worker and be a bus driver.
Hmm.
So you're asking me to do X number of jobs, but you're paying me less than what the thoughts are today. Though they have increased the bus driver pay, but it's still not comfortable with the responsibility that is being placed on you. So people are saying, I'd rather work at Amazon and lose weight.
Period. Period.
you
So what,
know,
but what happens at the schools, Mr. Floyd? And how does the General Assembly or the counties that oversee the budgets for these schools, how should they be preparing? How, what do should we expect as constituents to see as a response to these issues?
well, you can ask, put it like this to you, that there's one pie. And if you grow that pie, you have to grow the ingredients, meaning that are going to have to find more money to put into the pie
Yeah.
to buy whatever changes that you want to increase in the pie.
Hmm.
So the question of it is, does the General Assembly provide that additional money, or do the counties that say they don't have any money and the school system that say they don't have any money to pay for this cost? But the bus drivers are the key to bringing the goods and services to the market. And so they I
Yeah,
remember
without your
back,
bus drivers, those kids are not showing up at. So a lot of those kids won't be showing up.
but I remember back some years ago, maybe 4 or 6 years ago, when that was one of Commissioner Evan pet peeve, that he thought that the bus drivers and cafeteria workers was underpaid. And that's still uh, true today. But when you put it like this, Steve, I love it when I see organization compare their organization with much larger organization and say that this is what is taking place. You know, so you, so when you look at Charlotte, totally different. Raleigh, Durham, totally different. But you want to compare my municipality, my community, with those larger communities when you want to sort of make things fit and look good. So the thing of it is, are we willing to pay these individuals to carry our goods and services to the market, which is our students?
Right. So, Mr. Floyd, speaking of our students, I want to share something. Let me share my screen because I just think that I just told my daughter stop texting me and she is still texting me.
Mhm,
And that is annoying because it keeps dinging, Mr. Floyd.
mhm,
Can you see my screen?
mhm.
So there was a list of North Carolina's top middle and elementary schools that was released. So listen, if you're a parent and you are trying to figure out where you'd like to send your children to school, you can have a hug, sweetheart. I love you. if you're a parent who's trying to figure out where to send your children to school, um, the Triangle and Charlotte areas are where you want to consider, because out of the ranking, first of all, none of our schools here in Fayetteville and Cumberland County made this list. So as you see, all of these schools are outside of our county. You got Greensboro, Wake County, Iredell, Statesville, Union County, Charlotte, Guilford County,
Hmm.
Union County, Iredell, Apex, Wake County. Now, remember when we talk about the Mooresville, New Hanover, Wake County, what do these counties have in common, Mr. Floyd, when we talk about tiers?
Well, you can look at they truly are not in tier one.
They're not in tier one communities. And we
Mhm.
always tell our community we are a tier one community. That means we are poor. We are
Mhm.
a poor community, not because we just woke up one day and decided we wanted to label ourselves poor, but because our median income, we are poor.
Peace, but we are going to get this titanium plant. That is going to help us bring in six figures, moving us away from five
And
figures.
this district that the city of Fayetteville is talking about, this innovation district or whatever it's called, that's gonna make us not tier one also.
Okay, now that's going backwards, Tish. Where's the infrastructure coming?
Mr. Floyd, your guess is as good as mine, but this is what I'll continue to say. We can see that our poverty shows up in so many different ways. The fact that none of our schools are on this list, and I just think there's something really going on with these schools right now. I want us to be paying close attention to what's going to be happening for our students over the next couple of years. Bus drivers are the buses running are a huge signifier that we've got an issue going on with the staffing and the pay at our school systems. The fact that none of our schools are listed, and this is elementary and middle school, not high school. None of them are listed on the list of top performing schools. These are problems, and they're signifiers that we've got some issues in within our community that we need to be working on. I want to go back to what I said in the beginning of the show about about Commissioner Deviere and Pathways for Prosperity. I think that we are going to see a lot coming out of the Board of Commissioners to address the economic disparity, because that has always been something that has been at the heart of this chairman's agenda. He has always had a push for wanting to create economic leverages to help people who are trying to move forward be able to do so. So my hope is that our Cumberland County Board of Commissioners will really, either that they will support school of choice, support the school vouchers, excuse me, support the vouchers, or be prepared to put more resources. And I'm not just talking about money. Be prepared to resource our schools properly.
That, Tish, there's only so much money, and one thing for any politician, which is political suicide, is I hate to use this word, fee. That's political suicide. Fee and taxes. It's what, but you,
Sometimes you got to trim the fat. You're stuck. One of us is
taking
stuck.
that's
Very
what
hard.
level, positions, and and when they call out some of the names of the position, I'm trying to figure out what kind, what, they can find a name for the position
Right.
out there. So so many times when you look at the state level, Tish, when you say 55 to 58% of every dollar in your pocket goes to education,
Education.
K1 to 12,
Where is
community
it
college.
going?
I mean, so when you look at 13 to 15 billion dollars of your budget going to education, so you can fight opportune scholarship. You can fight that, Chief. But the party in charge saying by 2030 they're going to have $800 million in there for parents to grab these scholarships there. So the question of it is, your grandson that I always like to see, speak to me in the morning, when you have him,
Is
makes
Mr.
me
Is,
feel
is
good.
that Mr. Floyd?
Yeah, it makes me feel good because I see the 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 truthfulness in him. You know,
Yeah.
it's not a phony hello. You know, and it
Yeah.
makes it
He's
and
really happy to see you. Yeah.
it, so when you see that now, the question of it is, and we're talking about you just mentioned about during 4 days a week.
Right.
Would you drive that beautiful young man to school every day to assist your daughter?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's the question, Tish. I mean, to give him a better quality education than to send him to a failing school. Now, most school systems are site-based ran.
Mm-hmm.
They're not central office ran. They're site-based. So if it was more central office-based, you probably would see much more growth
I don't know,
than
Mr.
site-based.
Floyd. I don't know. I think that's six of one and a half a dozen of another, but I do understand your point. I do absolutely
I mean,
understand your
if it's
point.
coming from if things are coming equitably out of the central office, then you will see a shift.
It to include if
But
the money
principal
came
has yeah,
equitably.
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Principal has a lot of leeway in our various schools. I mean,
Absolutely.
because you see, sometimes just with cell phone, one school said we're gonna do it this way. The other school said we're gonna use it for academic purposes. You know,
Hmm.
and another school system said, well, we don't have any say so left or right. So it's site based. You know,
Absolutely.
so when we change that, then we can change the school system itself. So
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Floyd. While we're talking about money, there's a bill floating, SB 382, about the money for Western North Carolina. Talk to me about that. Talk to our audience about that and tell them what the expectation should be as we watch this bill.
well, I think the Senate has passed it along party line votes. Okay. Now the House is going to receive it next week, and the governor is truly most likely will veto it, let it become law after 10 days, or whatever. Then the Senate, then they are going to come back and override the veto before December the 31st.
Okay.
What that does provide is another 277 million to be close to $1 billion that they provided for Western Carolina. There out of the 475 billion that we want to take as our party and give it to education.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go to the General Assembly and when the General Assembly convenes, you don't know what's going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this bill does put, I think some says 130 pages. This bill does provide relief, and it also stripped the incoming Democrats of some of their power that they have. As an example, the leading party appoints five board members to the Board of Election,
Mm-hmm.
which normally is going to be the leading party, which would be the Democrat, will appoint three, and the Republican has two.
Okay.
But this has been a scrambling of the eggs back in 2016 when they wanted to do 4 and 4, meaning that the House and the Senate would appoint there. But now they have changed it to the state auditor is to appoint the board members to the Board of Election.
Okay.
Then it sort of stripped the incoming Attorney General of his statutory authority, saying that you're gonna have to work. In other words, I'm trying to say is that whatever you do, you can't work in opposition to me,
Yeah.
meaning the party that's in charge
Right.
there. And then again, when you look at the Board of Education, the superintendent there that did get some money from the Council of State, got 500,000. So he's a minority. Were able to get some, when the
Mm-hmm.
other two did not. And then you have the lieutenant governor, which they sort of looked at. The lieutenant governor role was to break a tie vote in case of a tie, which is not likely to happen. So it stripped that authority, but the lieutenant governor really works on sits on 2 or 3 boards and then preside over the Senate. So her authority, just like Robertson, is very limited there, because Berger is going to control the agenda. Remember now, you preside, but
Right.
Berger is going to control the agenda. So
Absolutely.
you see a lot of you will see a lot of shifting prior to the new uh, legislators coming in. And
Yeah, we saw a shift in the Democratic. We saw a change in the Democrat leadership. What's up with that?
well, Dan Blue has been there, I think, for 40 plus years, and so the Senate wanted to change, and so they brought, I think her name's Cindy Braxton, and she has roots here in Cumberland County,
Okay.
to be the Senate Minority Leader.
Well,
So
congratulations to her.
so you know she is going to be the first female to head that part. I mean, that
Is that
part.
when you say that, Mr. Floyd? Is it a bitter pill in your mouth to say that?
Indeed, it is. I mean, because I just like this to see people, that she is the minority leader.
Yeah.
To add this other stuff. That's what hurt our party in the national election.
I think it's okay to acknowledge that you are the first person of your gender or your race to stand in a position, but I think the constant harping of it is what becomes very tiring.
That I mean, geez,
Because I think people should be commended for breaking barriers.
well, glass ceiling, yes, geez. I mean, that's okay, but the African American male, I was I was at a place trying to trying to find a switch the other day, and you meet some unique people, in Lowe's. So the brother stopped and asked me a question. I'm just saying about how where the party has carried us too far to the left, and some say toxic. The guy said, "I have a problem with certain people looking for the same thing that I'm looking for, the same that I'm looking for."
Yeah.
Okay, he said that I have a problem with that, and
Yeah.
that's how the African American male is is seeing things now. And if you look at the voter turnout, you're not you're not you have moved the agenda to a more academic instead of being to a party of the people. So you're not talking to me. I mean, you see, you
Yeah.
didn't talk about increase the minimum wage. You talked
Yeah.
about all these things that I got to
That
have a
don't matter
cloud.
to you.
Yeah, I got
Don't
to have a
matter to you.
cloud. I got to have a cloud account to store it.
Yeah.
You know, you see,
Yeah.
but that's where we are, and if
Well,
we
your
don't,
party's also very upset right now with the commander in chief because there are a lot of people that are pissed that he pardoned his son.
what did you expect, Teach?
For him to keep his word, I think is what most people expected.
Look at the political party itself. How many of them keep their word? So what's the difference? I mean, you know, I mean,
I
I mean,
don't think he, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think he ever should have made an emphatic statement saying that he wasn't going to do it.
Teach,
Because I think if he had not done that, Mr. Floyd, people would not have
Teach,
any ammunition with
Teach,
which to go after
Teach.
him.
In 2015, the General Assembly set up funding for the Council of State positions.
Yeah.
Okay. And said that you can raise money to assist members of the Council of State. Two African American members didn't get a dime of that money.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not surprised, but you accept this. You accept this, and you don't call those individuals into play as about not supporting the African American candidate. This
Yeah.
is the same thing that happened when Holly ran for governor. The same thing when two African American females ran for council of state office. You didn't give no money. So I'm not. So when I see this, I'm not surprised
It
with
is
what
what it
takes place.
is.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
speaking out of both sides of your mouth. So I'm
Yeah.
not. So I'm not surprised. I mean, this is my son. I have an opportunity to he has changed his life. I have an opportunity to assist him. Yeah, you can pardon him.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other thing about it, you know, the way he did it, and he got some more family members he might want to consider.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, uh, that's how that's how I see it. It's not good, but that's the way that politicians work.
Right. Well,
It's,
what you want to leave our people with, Mr. Floyd?
don't go broke over the Christmas holidays and giving people a gift who who may or may not deserve a gift that's going to take you 12 months to offset that. But before you buy that gift, look at the prior month payment and see what the interest rate is on that card that you're going to use.
And if you have children and you've been telling your children to do the same thing over and over all year long, you may want to consider how extravagant you are for them at Christmas. Because if you have to keep repeating yourself, they don't respect you or appreciate you anyway.
Well,
So you ain't got to go all out trying to prove to them what a great parent you are. Make them go all out trying to prove that they're deserving of you spending your money on them like that. And the truth of the matter, Floyd, is most of our children, it got to a point once my kids were a certain age when we would say, "What you want for Christmas?" They couldn't even think of anything because they had everything they wanted.
well, I taught my daughter early on, about Christmas. And I said to her one year, I bought her the things that she wanted. Okay. Then the following Christmas, I said, now I'm going to give you money, okay, to let you buy your own Christmas
Right,
after Christmas when everything is 50 to 70% off.
right.
I said, you going back to school, which is out for 2 weeks. Now my daughter is of age now. Do you realize she don't want no gift? You know what she
Yeah, you
wants?
still writing that check.
Yeah, know what she wants? Money.
Money. That's right.
She
That's
tell me,
right.
she tell me point blank, Dad, don't waste your time.
Latanya, I love you.
She tell me, don't waste your time. Let me know when you want me to come by and get my gift.
That's right.
And the smile is much better on her face when I give her the cash money than when I give her a sweater
That's right. Because
that
she can
she'll
get what
probably
she
never
really
wear.
wants. She can get what she really wants.
Yeah.
Mr. Floyd, I just want to remind everybody that Jesus truly is the reason for the season. If you don't know or don't understand what that means, reach out to me. I'd be happy to sit and talk with you about it. And we are still here because our objective and our heart's desire is to make sure that people see what's going on in their community with their government and that they can connect the dots to understand how politics works. All I'm asking is that you share this content with somebody that you think needs to understand how these things work. We're not criticizing our elected officials because we've served as elected officials. We understand how traumatic it is to constantly be berated and for somebody to never tell you you did a good job. We understand what it means for people to ignorantly assume that they understand what's going on without trying to get the information or the details surrounding a situation. And we also know what it means to work alongside people where what they do is attached to you as a part of your narrative, whether you were in agreement or not. So this is not, we're not here to bash or berate, but we are here to talk about and to explain, to expose and to make it make sense. So, and a lot of this stuff probably won't never make sense because it just is not designed to make sense, but we want to make it as clear as possible. So, Mr. Floyd, with that, I just ask that people like, share, subscribe, follow, tell a friend, and tell a friend. Also, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Tell us what you learned. Leave a comment because then we know what we need to do better and where we're nailing it. Mr. Floyd, your parting words?
I hope you get the key.
I ain't studying that key. I ain't studying that. I got a key ring full of keys. I ain't said that key. But
I'll be
but I'm confident, Floyd, that after this administration departs office, I will get the key. I'm confident in that, and then I will receive it. On that note, we love you, and again, I hope that you truly enjoyed your Thanksgiving, and we'll catch you on the next episode. You funny, Floyd. You got jokes.
okay. Okay.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.